This little lesson will be about parenting and attachment. Now, in the course of this instruction, I hope to answer the following questions for you. How do the bonds of attachment form between caregivers and infants? Why do secure and insecure attachments matter, and how does an infant develop basic trust? What are three primary parenting styles, and what outcomes are associated with each? Now, the first thing we are going to talk about is attachment. Now, this is an emotional tie with another person shown in young children by their seeking closeness to a caregiver and showing distress on separation from that caregiver. 1-year-olds typically cling tightly to a parent when they're frightened or expect separation. Reunited after being apart, they shower the parent with smiles and hugs. No social behavior is more striking than this intense and mutual parent-infant bond. This attachment bond is a powerful survival impulse that keeps infants close to their caregivers. Infants also experience what's called stranger anxiety. This is the fear of strangers that develops around 18 months old. When handed to a stranger, they may cry and reach for a parent. It was previously assumed that infants became attached to those who satisfy their need for nourishment, which basically means, you feed me, thus I love you. However, an accidental finding overturned this idea. During the 1950s, University of Wisconsin psychologist Harry Harlow and his wife Margaret Harlow bred monkeys for their learning studies. Shortly after birth, they separated the infants from their mothers and placed each infant in a sanitary, individual cage with a cheesecloth baby blanket. Now, here comes the surprise. When their soft blankets were taken to be washed, the monkeys became distressed. The Harlows decided to pit the drawing power of a food source against the contact of comfort of the blanket by creating two artificial mothers. One was a bare wire cylinder with a wooden head and an attached feeding bottle. The other was a cylinder wrapped with a terry cloth. The monkeys overwhelmingly preferred the comfy cloth mother. The monkey babies would cling to the cloth mother when anxious, and when exploring their environment, they used her as a secure base. They were attached. So this showed that infants bond with surrogate mothers because of bodily contact, not because of nourishment. So here's a little portion of Harlows Experiment explained.
Newborn rhesus monkeys will grow up not in accordance with nature, but in the controlled atmosphere of a laboratory, where all the psychological influences of childhood can be duplicated. In a classic continuing study, infant monkeys are removed from the mother at birth and raised in semi-isolation. Other individuals can be seen and heard, but there is no physical contact, no interaction. Mother is a bit of plastic and shaggy cloth, a doll with no life of its own, but capable of nourishing the life of an infant. The monkey will come to depend upon this doll to satisfy basic necessities of life. Not only nourishment, but a deeper psychological need for comfort and security. In primate infants, there is an instinctive need to cling to another body, soft and warm. Food or security? Which is motherhood's stronger appeal? Alongside a warm, familiar mother of cloth is a stark wire doll set up as nothing more than a feeding machine. The young monkey is placed deliberately on a cloth mother which has no milk to nourish him, but fulfills some fundamental needs. This experiment revolves around one simple question. Will the infant monkey switch pledge his affection to a wire mother which offers food and life itself. Only when forced by hunger does he loosen his grip and begin to yield to nature's most powerful internal drive. From the wire mother he derives one thing: nourishment. No warmth, no comfort, no feeling of security. After feeding, he returns to spend up to 22 hours a day near the only mother he knows. From this inanimate object, the infant derives all the security and mother love he needs. He can, if also exposed early to other young, grow into a normal, well-adjusted adult.
So, the results of this study: the Harlow infant monkeys preferred contact with a cloth mother even while feeding from a wire nourishing mother. Harlow's study showed the powerful bond of attachment between infants and parents and emphasized the importance of nurturing traits such as warmth and softness, along with the ability to hold and cuddle a baby as well as feed it. Human parents also serve as secure bases from which an infant can begin to explore its environment. The need for attachment remains with us throughout our lives as we draw comfort from having someone around to support us and make us feel secure. So, secure attachment. Secure attachment fosters social trust. In secure attachment, the children experience their environment happily when in the presence of their caregiver. When the caregiver leaves, the child will show distress. Now, insecure attachment is marked by either anxiety or avoidance of trusting relationships. They will cling to their caregivers and are less likely to explore their environment, even with their caregiver present. Now, temperament is important in understanding attachment as well. It's a person's characteristic emotional reactivity and intensity. So how does temperament affect attachment style? Temperament is genetically influenced, and some babies and people tend to be easy and adaptable. They tend to have positive mood and regular habits. Some are slow to warm up. They're low activity and somewhat slow to adapt and generally withdraw from situations. Others might be difficult, intense emotions, irritable, and cry frequently. And then they're the average. They're unable to classify these children. It's about a third of all children. But temperament does matter in the way that we establish attachments as children. So, do our early attachments form the foundation for adult relationships, including our comfort with intimacy? Yes. Many researchers believe this is so. So if secure attachment fosters social trust, what happens when circumstances prevent a child from forming attachments? Those children who have been abandoned in Romanian orphanages during the 1980s looked frighteningly like Harlow's monkeys. The longer that they were institutionalized, the more they bore lasting emotional scars. The Harlow monkeys bore similar scars if raised in total isolation, without even an artificial mother. So children who are deprived of attachment are usually withdrawn, frightened, and even speechless. Harlow found the monkeys raised in total isolation were also similar. So now we're going to talk a little bit about parenting styles. Child raising practices vary. Some parents are strict, some are lax, and some show little affection. Some liberally hug and kiss. Do parenting styles differences affect their children? The most heavily researched aspect of parenting has been how and to what extent parents seek to control their children. Studies have identified 3 parenting styles. We have permissive parenting, authoritarian parenting, and authoritative parenting. So first we'll talk about permissive parenting. So permissive parents give to their children's desires. They have few rules, and even those rules aren't consistent. They may use bribery to get their child to behave, such as giving them treats or toys. And often they seem more like a friend than a parent. However, permissive parents are very warm and loving with their children. But permissive parenting is sometimes known as indulgent parenting. Parents who exhibit this style make relatively few demands on their children. Because these parents have low expectations for self-control and maturity, they rarely discipline their children. These parents like to avoid confrontation. So here's an example of a permissive parent from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I wanted to be the first to find a golden ticket, Daddy.
I know, Angel. We're doing the best we can. I've got every girl on the bleeding staff hunting for you.
All right, where is it? Why haven't they found it?
Veruca, sweetheart, I'm not a magician. Give me time.
I want it now. What's the matter with those twats down there?
For 5 days now, the entire flipping factory's been on the job. They haven't shelled a peanut in there since Monday. They've been shelling flaming chocolate bars from dawn to dusk.
Make them like knights.
Come along, you girls. Put a jerk in it, or you'll be out your ears, every one of you. But listen to this. The first girl that finds a golden ticket gets a £1 bonus in her pay packet. What do you think of that?
They're not even trying. They don't want to find it. They're jealous of me.
Sweetheart, I can't push them no harder. 19,000 bars an hour they're shelling. 760,000 they've done so far.
You promised, Daddy. You promised I'd have it the very first day.
You're going to be very unpopular around here, Henry, if you don't deliver soon.
It breaks my heart, Henrietta. I hate to see her unhappy.
I won't talk to you ever again. You're a rotten, mean father. You never give me anything I want. And I won't go to school till I have it.
Veruca, sweetheart, Angel. Now, there are only 4 tickets left in the whole world, and the whole ruddy world's hunting for them. What can I do?
About time too. I want it. Give me that ticket. Mine. I found the golden ticket.
Thank God for that.
Aye. Happiness is what counts for children. Happiness and harmony.
So in this clip, you notice how the parents gave in to their daughter's every whim. She kind of called the shots. Now, children raised with permissive parenting, they usually lack self-discipline. Sometimes they have poor social skills. They may be self-involved and demanding. And many feel insecure due to the lack of boundaries. In a recent study, permissive parenting was linked to underage alcohol use, and teens with permissive parents were 3 times more likely to engage in heavy drinking. Researchers also suggest that permissive parenting is linked to other risky behaviors, such as drug use and other forms of misconduct. They may be unruly in school and lack important social skills. So next we'll talk about authoritarian parents. Authoritarian parents have high expectations for their children and have very strict rules that they expect to be followed unconditionally. These parents are obedience and status oriented and expect their orders to be obeyed without explanation. They're not willing or able to explain the reasoning behind the rules. So they have strict rules and expectations. They tend to not be very warm and loving with their children. They utilize punishments with little or no explanation. And they don't give children choices or options. Now, children of authoritarian parents, they tend to associate obedience and success with love. They may act fearful and shy around others. Some children display more aggressive behavior outside the home. And often they have lower self-esteem. Because authoritarian parents expect absolute obedience, children raised in such settings are typically very good at following rules. However, they may lack self-discipline. They're not encouraged to explore and act independently, so they never really learn how to set their own limits. Now, authoritative parenting styles, in this parenting style, parents want their children to utilize reasoning and work independently. But they also have high expectations for their children. When children break rules, they're disciplined in a fair and consistent manner. They're also flexible. If there are extenuating circumstances, they will allow the child to explain what happened, and they will adjust their response accordingly. So they listen to their children. They encourage independence. They place limits, consequences, and expectations on behavior. They allow their children to express their opinions, and they're warm and nurturing towards their children. The children of authoritarian parents, they tend to have happier dispositions. They develop good social skills. They have good emotional regulation and control, and they're self-confident about their abilities to learn new skills. Because authoritative parents act as role models and exhibit the same behaviors they expect from their children are more likely to internalize these behaviors. Consistent rules and discipline allow children to know what to expect. Now I have a little bit of a clip that I would like you to notice the different parenting styles in this. It's from that 70s show. There are examples of authoritative and authoritarian parenting styles in this clip.
Well, isn't this a happy house?
Yeah.
This is not a happy house.
Well, you just said this was a happy house.
Well, that's not what I meant. It was sarcasm.
Well, who the hell knows what you mean when you won't say what you mean?
I don't like how you're treating the children.
Look, Kitty, I'm not going to let our kids go down the wrong path. But if you have a better idea, I'm all ears.
Okay, maybe you could be a little less strict and a little more loving.
Okay, Kitty, enough with the sarcasm.
Oh, no, honey.
Yep, he thought he could sneak out.
So, what now, Ho Chi Minh?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Playtime is over. Your friends are no longer allowed in the house.
Wait, what?
No, we'll talk about it in the morning.
Fine. We'll talk about it in the morning. We'll talk about how your friends are no longer allowed in the house.
You know, I have an interesting idea. Why don't we not punish him? Why don't we try a little of that forgiveness that Jesus was always talking about?
No. This is for his own good. Look, in order for Eric to be happy, well-adjusted adult, he has to be miserable now. That's just good parenting. If I was to be Mr. Nice Guy now, do you know what would happen to Eric in a few years? Do you? Oh, Eric! Breakfast!
Oh, there's my sweet little baby boy.
Why didn't I discipline you?
Shut up and eat your cornflakes.
That's what. Never surrender, Kitty. Never retreat. We're winning. The fact that Eric was desperate enough to climb out his window shows that everything is working. You hear that?
I don't hear anything.
That's right. Nothing. That's the sound of discipline.
No, that's the sound of jail. This house used to be fun until you made it miserable.
Well, I'm sorry, Kitty, but I think it's working.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do.
I just said I did. It's red! Run for it!
Okay, so the father, I believe that the father represented more of the authoritarian type's parenting. He would not talk the situation through with his son, didn't explain the reasoning for the discipline, and he showed little love and compassion. And his punishments of locking his children in their room is quite extreme, and the friends no longer being able to come over was also an extreme punishment. The mother was more authoritative. She wanted to talk about it and show love to their children and try to teach them.